This is a video containing the audio and PowerPoint presentation from our January 2019 Vital Spark event in partnership with Arts Council England and Attenborough Arts Centre. The audio you will hear is for the most part Alison Vermey, Relationship Manager at Arts Council England. Due to losing audio midway through the presentation, some of it is simply readings from the slides.
Okie dokie. So, good morning everybody. My name's Alison Vermey, as you can see up there. I'm a Relationship Manager at Arts Council England. I'm based in the Birmingham office, so I'm sort of more West Midlands. I'm coming here today to talk particularly about developing your creative practice, which is a new Arts Council fund. Well, I say new, it was introduced last April, and it will exist for the whole of this 4-year funding period. So I'll talk a little bit about project grants as well, because it's important to know the differences between the two and which one is most appropriate for you. And then we'll do a bit of a Q&A at the end. So I'll just kind of go through the slides and then I think I'm going to talk to some of you individually later on as well. Can I just ask if anybody in the room has ever applied to Arts Council for any funding? Goody goody. And of those, who's been successful? That's pretty good. That's actually quite a common, when I've done this before, it tends to be quite a healthy success rate. So that's quite encouraging for people that, I think some people sometimes get a bit put off by applying to various funders, but there's proof in the room that you can achieve some funding. So this is developing your creative practice, and I'm going to just abbreviate that to DYCP if you don't mind, because it's a bit of a mouthful. DYCP was introduced for the current funding period, so we're currently in the 2018 to 2022 funding cycle as Arts Council, and it's a new fund that was introduced because there was a recognition that project grants, which is our open funding programme, used to be called Grants for the Arts, there was a recognition that some individual artists were struggling really to get funding from project grants. So this was a way of trying to address that and ensure that we are kind of reaching individual artists as well as people who are working as groups or as companies. So, here we go. So there we go. It can be open throughout this investment period, and you can apply for between £2,000 and £10,000, and your activity up to 1 year in length. The project grants you can apply for up to 100,000. So this is one of the key differences to begin with. At the lower end for project grants, it's between 1 and 15,000. But with this one, it's a lower amount of money. And I've been on 3 panels so far. There's a team of us who have been assessing applications so far. So we've had 3 of the 4 decision-making panels so far. The next one is in March. And people come in for all, a number of people come in for the whole 10,000, not 100,000, 10,000, but some people are coming in for £2,000 or £3,000. It's entirely about what you need. We say activities up to 1 year in length. If you have a proposal that is going to take a year, but there might be a bit of that activity that takes place beyond that, that's okay. You don't have to have absolute fixed parameters. If there's a festival that you want to go to, or somebody that you want to work with that you can only see them beyond that period, or have a final meeting or something, you can extend it. So we don't count you as ineligible if you extend beyond that. So what will we fund? So this is applications for development activities, working in any of our supported disciplines where a clear development opportunity has been identified. So the most important words from this slide are development activities, development opportunity, and we're looking for a planned development opportunity particularly. So lots of artists want just some time to write, time to paint, time to create, and obviously that's something that all artists need, but this particular fund isn't really for that. It's for a planned development opportunity for you to take your practice to the next stage. So what we're doing with this fund is we're supporting you to push your practice further, because that then supports Arts Council in seeing how practice can be developed. I'll talk a bit about that a bit more later, but that is something to really have in your minds from the outset. It's a planned development opportunity, not just time to create. So this is what we call creative practitioners. And I think it's interesting that we're not just talking about writers, theatre makers, dancers, painters. We're also talking about curators, translators, producers, designers. So we're taking this more broadly, and there may be some of you in the room that fall into those camps that may have thought, well, am I an artist if I'm a curator? You know, how do I fit into Arts Council definitions? And I don't know if any of you have been aware of Arts Council's developing its next 10-year strategy from 2020 for the next 10 years. There's been a lot of consultation, and one of the things we've talked to people about is what is art, what is culture. Obviously you start at the beginning, and the feeling is there's going to be a move more towards looking at art and culture in a broader sense, so including more design, curation, that kind of thing. And one of the applications that was successful in the round that I was on the decision-making panel for a few weeks ago was someone who's actually a costume designer. So again, that's quite a sort of we're kind of stepping into our next sort of 10-year strategy realm already there, because costume design, working with other costume designers to develop that side of one's practice. It's obviously really important for theatre that there is good quality costume design being developed in the country, but perhaps that might not have fallen really easily into some of our categories in the past. So that's, you know, just so that you're aware that we are looking more broadly now than performing artists and makers. You need to have 3 years creative practice experience beyond university or beyond art school, whatever it is that where your training might be. So we're looking for people who already have a bit of a track record from which to move forward, because this is about developing, not starting. Okay. So the kinds of things you can apply for. So just let you have a quick look at that. Networking, making work, experimenting. You can use the money to travel. That's quite a popular thing that people are wanting to work with artists and practitioners in other countries. They have an opportunity to go. They've been invited to go and work with someone who can specifically drive their practice forward. So you can include costs for travel, flights, accommodation, per diems, that kind of thing. And research and development time to explore practice and take risks. So what might a strong application look like? That's a good lead into that, isn't it? Because we're getting lots and lots of applications, and what you're obviously needing to do is get the strongest possible application. So how we can support you in developing a really strong application. So 3 years experience, as I mentioned before. So the fund is designed to make a difference to your practice. Again, not just time to create, time to work, but to make a difference. And you need to demonstrate a strong base that you're working from. So we asked you a bit about your history. So we're looking at how you are going to tell us what you've already done and then how you're going to take that next step. And you can be really clear in this. You can give us bullet points. You don't need to sort of write an elaborate story. You can just give us a list of things that you've done. That might be commissions that you've had, people that you've worked with, places that you've performed, venues that have supported you, that kind of thing, work that you've published, that kind of thing. So the emphasis on process over product. We're not asking to see the end product. We're not asking you to apply to, I'm going to write a play, and at the end of it, well, where's the play? We want to see it. We're not really looking for the end product. It's the process you're going to go through to get there. It's about developing your creative practice. And this is one of the most important things to take away from this, is that it's a step change, not just a next step. So it may be that you've done a certain amount of work and now you're going to do some more of that, or you've done this work here and now you want to go and do it there. It's not so much that, it's about you're really challenging your practice, you're really challenging how you think about what you do, and you want to move that practice forward. Yeah.
So if you're, say, doing a piece, like developing a piece of work, but now you want to collaborate with other artists, so would that be an option?
Yes, it would, yeah. I would ask you to be really clear about why it's those artists, why you want to do that collaboration and why at this particular time. And you have opportunities in the application form to be really clear about that. If you were just to say, at this stage in my career, I'd quite like to work with some other artists.
Yeah, it's got to be specific,
Yes.
because this person, because they have this skill, and I feel that will
Yeah.
enhance my experience to
Yeah.
that end.
Yeah, it's a planned development opportunity, not just a chance to go away and think a bit about what I want to do next. Which obviously you all need to do, it's just that we can't fund that through this fund. So again, in your application, it's this significant step change, well managed, so it's a planned development opportunity. A timely intervention, why do you want to do this now? Why is this appropriate for you in your practice now? What's happened, what's come along, which has stimulated this or provoked this? We do get quite a lot of applications from people who might be going through some health issues or some personal issues, or sort of change of life where they might be saying, well, I've been doing this for a long time and now my kids have left home and I just feel like I need to do something different. It needs to be more planned than that. We do get lots of, and that's obvious, isn't it? That's, people think this is a good time for me to develop. I've just moved to a new town. I used to live in the country, now I've moved to a city. I just feel I need to sort of change the way I do things. Yes, but then what is that planned development opportunity that matches this moment in your life, not just the moment in your life? So, developing your creative practice versus project grants. So, obviously you need to think very clearly about which is the right one for you. And some of you are familiar already with project grants, and I'll come on in a bit to some of the differences. But on the website, in the guidance, there is a sort of table that says, this is what project grants is for, and this is what DYCP is for. Make sure you choose the right one. So, project grants is an open rolling fund. You can apply at any time. There are no deadlines. There are no dates when you can start to apply for. You can apply at any time for project grants. DYCP, there are 4 rounds a year in each region. The times are the same in each region. So, this is a complicated bit. You can only apply for 2 rounds in a 12-month period. So if you've applied and you've not been successful, you can try again. But if you're not successful again, you have to wait until the next year. And then if you are successful, you can't apply again for 3 years. And this idea that if you've applied twice and not successful, then you have to wait. This is partly the fact that it's about a timely intervention. So if an opportunity's come along for you that is going to change your practice, it's unlikely that's going to happen every 3 months. Oh, another opportunity's come along. Oh, another opportunity's come along. So we're looking for that opportunity that you're responding to, rather than, I'll just give it another go, I'll just give it another go. So the details of all of the dates are on the website. I think the 4th round for year 1 is open, the portal's open now.
The end result of this funding will be about your creative practice, not audiences or participants. Unlike with project grants, there is no public engagement element. The beneficiary is you, not the public. No income needs to be raised or needs to be declared, just expenditure. The application form is made up of 3 questions. The questions are: 1. Tell us about yourself and your creative practice. 2. Tell us about the development opportunity you want to undertake, what you hope to get out of it, and how you will go about it. 3. Why is this important for your practice at this point, and how will this help create future opportunities?
Read the guidance carefully, use the language of the prompts. So when you look at the application form, as with project grants, it may say who you're going to work with, why do you want to work with these people. Say, I am going to work with, and I'm going to work with these people because. Use the language of the prompts. Make sure you're responding clearly to what we're asking you to do. You don't have much time. It comes out about a page and a half, the applications. It's really, really
We then ask you to provide your expenditure. No match funding is required. We also ask for a project plan. And then you will need to upload 2 documents. The first is an example of your work. And the second is one supporting document written by someone other than you that supports the quality of your practice.
So it might be if you've done some work with Spark, you might get Tara or one of her colleagues to say, yes, I've worked with this artist, this is the quality of the work they've done, this is why I think this project is important for them at this time. Or Marianne might do that for you if you've done some work here at Attenborough. Those are the kinds of people that you want to be, not your mum, not your next door neighbour. So if you think, try and put yourself into our shoes. If you were making a decision on whether we should look at your work and give you £10,000, you know, who's the best person to write that letter? If someone's inviting you to work with them, then perhaps that person could say, I really want to work with this artist. We've had these discussions, this is the moment now where they're going to come to my studio and this is what we're going to do. So as persuasive a letter of support as possible. Some people just kind of upload a bit of an email that says, you know, Dear Jane, lovely to talk to you on the phone last week, yeah, let's talk about it, keep in touch. You know, that isn't really a kind of a good example of somebody that is really supporting your work and understands your work. We know it's going to be very competitive. That's the budget for the year.
What's the budget for the year?
Sorry, 3.6 million nationally a year. And we're anticipating that we'll spend about £130,000 in the Midlands. So there'll be a panel in each of the region, which is equivalent to about 13 applications, obviously getting through at the maximum. We've been getting about 100 at each panel. Around 100 come through, and of the 113 are going to get through. So because we didn't really know, we anticipated about 30% success rate, but because the demand has been much greater than we had anticipated and is remaining great, we thought there might be a huge peak for the first panel and then it would drop off, and it hasn't. It's sort of stabilised, but it's about the same. So what we've done for the most recent panel is we did move some money around and put more money into that budget so that we could fund a few more, try and get some more through. So it may be that the budget will adjust next year around, you know, when we're kind of looking at our overall spending. But nevertheless, it remains very competitive. So you've got to do a very strong application. Sorry, you going to ask me a question?
Do people generally ask for the full 10,000, or is
there the whole range? And it's what you need. So don't pad it out. You know, don't sort of think, oh well, I may as well go for the 10,000. I'll put in another £3,000 for per diem or something. Your budget's got to be strong and actually match the activity that you want to do. With any Arts Council funds, if you have a decision pending, so if you put one project grants application in and you haven't yet had a decision on it, you can't put another one in. You might have different sort of things you want, different projects you want to do. You can't make another application until you've got a decision, positive or not, on the first one. And it's the same with DYCP. So don't think, I'll hedge my bets, I'll phrase it slightly differently because I really want to do this particular project. I'll put 2 applications in, both will be made ineligible if you do that. So don't sort of waste that chance. Wait till you've got a decision on one of them and then put another application in. That's a standard rule across our funds. Does that make sense? Yeah. You can't have 2 applications pending at the same time. So if you have a project grants, for example, and you've been successful and you're doing the work, you can then apply whilst that project is still ongoing. You can apply for another project grant. So if we think, well, this person's already doing this really kind of intense project in the next 3 or 4 months, and now they've said they're going to do this as well, that would raise questions about, does this person have the capacity time-wise and creatively to do 2 pieces of work. So just plan your applications with us carefully. And we do find that we get into relationships with people that come in for funding. So it might be that you come in for DYCP and you're successful, and then the following year you might then come in for an under 15,000, and then you might come in for a bit more, and we would expect to see you grow. So if you come in for project grants for £10,000, when you come to us again, we'll see how well you did. We'll look at the your activity report for your previous grant, and we'll see how well you did, what you achieved. We sort of expect next time to see you upping your game, rather than kind of, it might be that it's appropriate for you to come in for 3,000 because something's arisen that you want to do, but we sort of expect people to grow and develop their practice. So again, think about your kind of career with us as with a bit of a narrative as well. So as with all of our funds, we provide access support. So at the pre-application stage, if anybody needs support with the costs for note-taking, for example, if you're having a meeting with a relationship manager like me, or you need BSL interpretation, or if you have a need for a support worker, then you can ask for us to support you with the costs for those things so that everybody has equal opportunity to access these funds. If you need the guidance documents in other formats, in BSL, large print or audio, please contact us. If you come to us and ask us for some pre-application support, and we provide you with money for a support worker, for example, and then you decide, actually, I don't want to make an application, it's not the right time, that's fine, we don't ask for the money back. It doesn't commit you to making an application. That's during your kind of when you're thinking about, because obviously if you need someone to support you in understanding the guidance, it may be once you've got a thorough understanding of it, you've thought about what you want to do, but it actually is not the best time or not appropriate for you. So the access support workers can access our lovely grant management system. Grantium is kind of bedding in. We've had it for a year now, our online application system. So if you were not comfortable using that whole application system and you needed someone to support you, we can set that up for you. So what would happen is you would create your own user profile, and then your support worker would create theirs, and then our fantastic techie people link those so that your support person can go into your profile and actually kind of, put some of that information in so that you're not sort of doing it by yourself. If you need access to a computer, again, we can sort of advise, and again, probably people like Tara and Marianne would be really helpful about saying, yes, we've got hot desk space, or you can come and use a computer, or we can link you up with the local library or the council offices, whatever, and find you somewhere that you can actually work. So we don't consider any of your personal access costs to be part of your request. This is also the same with project grants. So there are ceilings, so it's £10,000 maximum for DYCP, and there's that 15,000 maximum at the lower level of project grants. So if you need extra money for your support worker or for whatever it is, and that takes you over that threshold, that doesn't mean you're ineligible. You enter that in a separate part on the application, and we take that into account. So if you're asking for the maximum of 10,000 for DYCP, but you need another 300, you enter that into a special box on the online form, and that still keeps you within the 10,000. So it doesn't push you over the threshold to make you ineligible. You don't have to factor it in to your budget. And then any costs for making your activity accessible to others is included in the budget. This is because DYCP is not intended to have any public engagement elements, so if part of what you want to do is to share your work with people and you need to create something in a certain format or have a BSL interpreter, that has to be part of your budget. Sharing the work is part of the budget. The access costs are for you to actually do the work. Is that straightforward? Good. So does anybody want me to go back through to prompt you and remind you of any of those, or does anybody have any specific questions they want to ask that haven't already arisen? Do you want to, I don't know if you want to share your experience, just the technical part.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I applied in the first round, so I don't know if things have changed since then, because that was until last year. But actually, just the type of it was so small. It was these tiny little boxes, and I'm dyslexic, so I find it quite hard. I'm fine to work on a laptop, but to have to focus that that closely, it was like, and the good thing about it is you can dip in and out, and you can go back to it and go back to different questions. And the actual 3 questions were fine. It's the expenditures, not just because of the putting in order, but because everything else had word count, so it was very clear how much you could put. Well, that didn't, and I read this whole massive plan and had it all in a Word document, all kind of planned out. And it's just a heading, really, isn't it, that you've got space for?
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, now I've got to reassess what I've said in the other bits because I thought I was writing it in there, and it just got very, very complicated and wasn't. Yeah, and it was so tiny every time because I had to keep on doing it. It was the size of it, and considering it's about accessibility and stuff. The
so
typing and the buttons were so small.
Large option might have been useful.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and I've never applied for anything before with the Arts Council, so I just felt like I was doing it blind, really. So I think it didn't really help me.
In the guidance, it does actually set out, it's almost like the application form on paper.
Yes, I did look at that.
So that you can have a really good, you don't have to sort of get in there. And I know Grantium has a hideous habit of timing out.
Yes.
Even if you're reading, you might be reading back, okay, I'm reading back what I've written, on it goes. If you haven't saved it, it's gone. It's the same with us when we're writing our assessments. You know, we would write a big long assessment and then it goes, I've got to do it again. So do it in Word, cut and paste the narrative bits. But yes.
And they're really small boxes as well, so then you read back through it and you have to kind of, it's just that's what got me. It's just like,
but if you speak to customer services, they may be, I don't know how it works, if you can, I know you can be given sort of a hard copy of the large print, but I'm not sure if there's a way of expanding on the screen what the actual forms look like.
There wasn't, no. That's the bit, because I was doing it all. I did take all the questions, and it was really good. There were lots of questions there that I knew exactly what I was going to write and everything, because there isn't a big word count, so you do have to be very specific.
Very succinct.
But it was just when you had to review it and stuff, and like obviously checking for mistakes and stuff. It was just really impossible for me personally. I don't know about anybody else.
I'll feed that back. Thank you.
Hi, could you tell me who assesses, who's on the panel?
In the Midlands, what we have done is have, there's a senior relationship manager, so that's somebody senior to me, and then 4 relationship managers, and we do cover the art forms. So the way it's worked in the Midlands is that a group of 4 of us have done all of them so far. So there's me as combined arts, we've had a visual arts person because we get an awful lot of visual arts applications. We've had a literature person, again literature is very well represented in the applications, partly because again for project grants that's one of perhaps the more difficult ones to get money at, and music. So we try and cover all of those.
Sometimes it's difficult, sorry if I could just respond to that, sometimes it's difficult to know for new applicants who the relationship managers are, to maybe email after they've spoken to customer services for maybe some email advice or even a telephone conversation. That's quite difficult.
Yeah. With DYCP, we sort of have a general policy that we're not doing a lot of advice giving, because as I say, we're not here to tell you, if you say I'm a sculptor and I want to start working in a different medium, it's not our place to say, really, maybe you want to think about metals rather than, we're not here to tell you about your practice.
So on that point,
it's more about the sort of logistical stuff of getting through the application form, which is the issue here. And customer services are the people that can help with that.
So on that point then, for someone who is mid-career, been working on their own for a long time, who wants, do you have art form assessors that you work with outside of being relationship managers? I think this is important for artists who've maybe been working for a while and are really in need of pushing boundaries and experimentation, but often they do need a conversation with someone before they make the application. Is there any signposting or help with people who have the expertise of that?
Okay, so two things about that then. So if you really do feel you need to speak to somebody, again, the route into it, if you don't already have a connection, is to go to customer services and you can say, I need to speak to a visual arts relationship manager in Midlands, and they then the customer services team then forward that inquiry to our regional team, and then they feed it on. So if somebody said I need to speak to a combined arts person in the Midlands, I eventually, within a couple of days, would get that email, and that would be my role then to contact you.
Sorry, I thought some time ago you did have a cohort of art form assessors.
Well, that's, yeah.
Other than
combined
relationships.
arts.
Other than relationships.
No, we used to
You
be
don't
called,
have that.
We
You
used to be
to.
called art form officers years ago.
No, people outside of the Arts Council.
No.
So that's all gone now. Just
I don't
wanted
know
to check
if
that.
that's before my time. But
Probably
no.
before your time. They did have practitioners in the field who did some sort of Arts Council training, who were then assessors of art form,
Right.
and that seems to have
No,
gone.
we
So that's
do it all.
important to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then once your application comes in, as I say, we've got that expertise around the table,
Yeah.
and the senior manager has their own kind of area of expertise. If something came in that was really specific, that none of us were particularly familiar with, a certain art form or a very, something very, especially with creative media. I've had one that came in last time, and it was about narrative DJing.
Yeah.
Which is I'm not terribly familiar with narrative DJing. So I would then go and speak to my creative media colleagues and say, do you know this artist? Do you know this art form? Within that art form or that area of the art form, does this look challenging? Does it? And they might go, oh God, no, people have been doing that for years, or whatever. So we do pull our advice.
Thank you.
You know.